Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing well. Doing well. How's everybody doing? Good morning, Mr. Gardner. Good morning, Dr. Burt. Good morning, Sonia Thomas.
Morning.
Good morning.
I want to know how I get that doctor behind my name, Doctor Simon. Can I be an honorary Doctor Thomas?
That's that dissertation and that pain.
Oh, I ain't trying to do that.
That's those gray hairs.
That's trauma.
I'm trying to keep these blondes over here blonde.
Listen.
All right, and happy Black History Month to everyone. This is Wednesday. Today is super duper warm, but just wanted to just go around and Torvis. We'll start with you. Just how has your week been, and how have you enjoyed Black History Month?
I have enjoyed Black History Month. Every year I try to get some new stuff, so the same stuff over and over again. We got so much stuff we've done, we've created, and just trying to spread the word to you. Loving the weather. It was like cold last week, and now the sun is shining, about to burn up. So it's just the weather's bipolar. So
yeah. What about you, Kanisha?
I'm definitely enjoying it. My articles about Asada has been making its rounds, and I got my little citations going through. Everybody's using it, so I'm feeling really good about that, and really enjoying learning new stuff and teaching new stuff, and just helping our youth to understand their history.
Yeah, and tell us about that. We actually looked at Asada's smaller story. I think it was on Tuesday. But what did you write about Asada?
Well, I talked about Asada in her letter from jail, and what she talks about, what exactly was going on at that time, and how a lot of people perceive that as her having a big ego. But in actuality, it was her presenting agency to the community. You know what I'm saying? And really showing people what agency looks like when you are locked up physically, but mentally you're able to provide, to the community what the steps that they need to do in order to help push past a movement.
And people, if you haven't checked that out, do a quick Google, YouTube. But Assata Shakur's story is really strong, and his perseverance, and she's a living legend to me right now to this day. So check out Assata Shakur. And myself, I've taken Black History Month to read up about Assata. This time around, really been trying to highlight those living legends again. Like, who are the people who are in the community right now? We pay homage to our late greats like Malcolm and Martin, but also who are some of the soldiers on the battlefield now who are doing, good work for the betterment of Black people. So it's been an interesting journey. Sonia, what about yourself?
I am totally enjoying Black History Month. I want to celebrate some people. I want to celebrate the Black and brown parents of Nashville PROPEL. Shout out to the parents and grandparents. You are Black history. You are demanding change, and you are making sure that our children has an equitable education. We don't want no equality. We need equity. And the difference is giving us what we need. Okay, because we always get the short end of the stick. So, equality is we all get to go to school. Equity is we're going to go to school and we're going to get what we need.
Come on now. And
so that's what we want. I want to shout out our parents and our grandparents. You are Black history. Thank you.
Awesome. So we got a lot to talk about. It's been a lot going on in Metro schools, just not only for Metro, but around the state. Back to school has started with elementary. I think this week they welcome back the 5th and 9th graders, building that transition up for middle school and high school. There's been a legislative bill that's allowed school districts or school board members, or by executive order by the governor, to win back to school goals, which I think was targeted specifically to Nashville and Memphis. We've had some really good updates about our personalized learning plan with Dr. Battle. We got some great things that are happening on Sunday evening for Propel and the parents of Propel. So we got a lot to talk about. But just to check in, just because we're all parents, how has back to school been for you guys, or just getting ready, getting mentally prepared for this year or mentally prepared for next year?
Back to school has been, which my child's still at home.
Yeah.
But she's still doing the virtual classes when they really never stop. But as far as getting school prepared to come back to school over at Nashville Classical, it's been, it's a lot of moving parts. A lot of things have to happen. A lot of protocols, a lot of different things in place. So it's really different that you have to focus on so many different things. Besides, it didn't get to the point of learning, which the kids won't be back to Monday. But there's so many different things going on before Monday that has to happen for things to work right when the kids come back. There's still gonna be some flaws in it. You don't know how the kids gonna react as far as wearing the mask all the time, social distancing, don't touch this, don't go here, move there. So Monday, until that. But as far as getting things together, it's a lot going on.
What about you, Sonia? How are you planning to go back? Are you planning to stay home? How has this transition with schools opening back up been for your household?
See, I have one who was virtual, and I don't think that there was like any question about whether or not they were going to return to in-person school-wide. My oldest daughter, the first survey, she was going back in person, but when the COVID cases went up, she decided to go ahead and stay virtual. And so that was a collective decision. I wanted her to take part in that decision and have a voice because it is her senior year. And so she decided to go ahead and remain virtual.
Wow. And what about you, Kanisha? It's on mute.
Sorry. I had a conversation with my boys and they really wanted to go back. As you know, my 10-year-old was being homeschooled. So I actually had to re-register him, redo IEP, but he was adamant about going back to school until the day he had to go back to school, which he talked about how nervous he was and, and how scared he was and all that good stuff. And so, but he got through it. He had a great first day. My oldest son, there was never a doubt that he was going back to school. He's a social butterfly. They really have really, really small class sizes in their schools right now. So a lot of one-on-one attention is being given, and they're helping, they're setting aside parts of the day to make up work and to help them improve grades, which I think is great. So we'll see how it's going. But, yesterday, first day back was great. They ran out the house, So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say for me, it's the same thing, but the difference is just a house divided. His mom feels a certain way, I feel a certain way. So we are mediating that thing around like, should we go back? Should we not? Of course, the kids want to go back, but I just, I personally feel it's a lot going on just in our internal household with being exposed and not wanting to put our family through that. And so we will see how mediation goes with that, but it's a journey. And I see people excited on both ways. I've heard people say, they wanted to go back and then they decided against, and then they decided against, and then they wanted to go back. And so parents are making some big decisions. We still have to talk about the testing. I think one of the things that they passed in special session was around the test actually being in person, with at least 80% of the students taking the test in person. So yeah, like March and April are going to be really interesting as we look at the landscape politically around schools.
Why is school political?
I know.
We can have politics, but we can't have church.
Come on now.
It's political because it got to do with money. That's why.
Come on now, church. Come on. Pass the plate. Pass the plate. Yeah, I still ain't got with the whole politics in school thing. But when we look at the word politics equates to people. And so, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to say what I want to say.
Yeah. But I think it equates to power. And I think what the paradigm shift that we're trying is like, politics equal power, and for so long our parents have not felt powerful because they haven't been involved in the quote unquote politics, and like that's what we want to do. We want to make politics not disgusting and not slimy where you feel like you got to sell your soul. I think what we're trying to do is make politics really about the people who get the services. Somebody said, I was looking at the Black Messiah, Judas and the Black Messiah, and they was like, our taxes pay the police to harass us in our community. And so we're paying to get beat in certain situations. So when I think about our school system, it's $1 billion a year industry, like we have the say so. It's not just about the people with the fancy bona fides. It's really about the people who have the kids.
Yes, and I just want to put out a disclaimer that we are 501c3. We are nonpartisan. So I want to make sure for all those to know they're lurking, ear hustling, and you ain't. I'm calling you out. We nonpartisan.
Yeah. But what are some of the things we think, like as we look at like finishing this year off? High school will be back in that first week of March, and they'll close it out. I think testing maybe starts in April. End of school year be kind of end of May. So what are some of the expectations that we have just as our kids are going back to school? Let's just what do we expect to happen in person academically, and what do we expect to happen virtually academically for our kids?
Y'all know I always got something to say. I'm gonna let y'all go.
Torres, you want to kick us off?
What we expect? Well, regardless of what's going on, you expect your child to be taught. And what I mean by taught is going to be things that you're going to be able to use transverse learning that you're going to be able to use later on in life. So you want your child to learn how to do math, reading, science, social study, anything right now. She should be like a sponge and absorbing. And just like, we teach our child about Black History Month every month. So it's just once a year. And which brings me to think, I was over cleaning up the school and I found these books downstairs in the dungeon, all dusty. It's a whole volume of them. So I can't wait to get these home to go through them with her.
Yeah.
We play Black History games, so it's just like knowing who you are and going back to the school, knowing what you know, because can't nobody take away what you know. The knowledge is key. And like I said, she's third grade, so she don't really know anything now.
Yeah.
So now with the individual learning plan, we're gonna go back and fix what she don't know and what she's supposed to know, and then go forward, which is gonna be a great thing. And so I'm so glad that Dr. Bowden decided and listen to the parents about doing that. I'm excited about that, and it's gonna be so much exciting about a lot of parents calling me talking about yes, but they really want to know what their child don't know, and they really want their kids to get caught up versus just keep on going forward and forward and forward. So that's my take on it.
And I'll step in it and I'll pass it to you, Kanisha. I think, early on when we were doing Access Denied, we talked about not going back to school business as usual. And when I think about it, my debate around like not even going back right now, because there's no real plan to how do we make sure we're assessing kids and getting them caught up, whether it's the TN Ready, whether it's the MAP. And what I would just love to see is this is an opportunity to really assess students, like take this time, this may not happen again in our lifetime, and really look at where students are and coming up with these plans. When I was looking at the feedback when we were doing the speaker series this Monday, it wasn't just about what I think. I truly saw parents understanding and wanting that support from the district to assess and analyze where their kids are academically, and then creating a plan. And I want to make sure we're not playing school, but we're actually educating our kids in school. What do you think, Kanisha?
Well, I understand the structure of the classroom right now is a little bit chaotic. From what I've been told, and the teachers are teaching both virtually and in person, and I understand that being a unique challenge. I'm frustrated with that aspect of it, because I think that if we're going to have virtual classes and we're going to have in-person classes, there needs to be virtual teachers and there needs to be in-person teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a situation that we definitely need to address, so that each student is adequately getting, as we say, an equitable education. You know, as I look at going back, my big thing, and you know, I want a plan. Y'all saw me on on that speaker series. What's the plan? Where is it written? Give me the step. I want the phases. I need a plan.
Yep.
You know, so for me, it's important to see a plan. And as far as not going back to business as usual, the main thing when I sent my kids back in person was, we need to have a plan on how we're going to address them being in person. Land is not walking back into the school without us having a plan. IEP meeting Tuesday. I want y'all to explain to me how we're going to make this work, because you know, he can't fall through the cracks. And so, you know, really, even with your kids going back in person, you have to be vigilant and making sure that you're staying on top to make sure that they're still getting what they need. And it's still work. It is still work. And so that's how I'm seeing this going back to school, is me taking a different perspective of how I'm on top of making sure my kids get what they need. And I'm hoping that we don't have business as usual. And next year is supposed to be different, but they're going back to school right now. So we got to do something different today.
Mm-hmm. And Sonia, will you speak to, I think Kanisha said something, she was like, we have to be vigilant around like making sure like education, like for you, like what does that mean just like as Propel, but also like as a parent?
So when I think about being vigilant, it takes me back to how we send our kids, our little visions, to school buildings with the expectation that they're getting the very best, only to be betrayed. And so parents, I say to you, don't get complacent. Do your due diligence. Question everything. Question everybody. And there you will find the truth. And that is the best way that you can start off advocating for your children. You have a right to ask questions. You have the right to know every moving part, every piece of information, you have the right to be a partner in your child's education. And for so long, we've had things done to us and not with us. And so it's very important that you're reaching out. If you don't know how, it's important that you call us, that you reach out to us on Facebook and be vulnerable and say, you know what, I really don't know how to advocate for my child effectively. And we'll be there for you. We got your back. So don't get complacent. And the business as usual, I mean, that's over.
Yep.
And when we started this movement, we determined that.
Yep.
So that's that.
And Taurus, what does that mean for someone who works in a school, who's a parent, who has a kid in school now, but also has a kid who has graduated from the school system? Like, what does that mean to you?
I mean, there's a lot of work to be done from my child that graduated and seeing all the things that he went through, and it still translates to my child now. It's not a lot of things changed, like you said before. It's politics in school. There's not a lot of difference. The only difference now I see now is that back with Propel, you see a lot of people being more vigilant, more people to see more things that's going on. Like I said, past 2 nights, I've got calls at 12 o'clock at night. People can't sleep. They literally cannot sleep. Talking about the IEPs, talking about this, talking about that. And they already know I'm always up to researching and doing something. These people literally cannot sleep at night. And by now, the things that's been going wrong, it was going wrong when we was in school. And before that, we asked the question, when was it? I did a radio show years ago. The man said, well, how long has it been going on? And I said, well, how old are you? Because I wasn't even like 30 at the time. But it's business as usual. Keep going forward until, we open our mouth and start asking questions about everything. Now you're starting to see things are starting to move and more people getting more aware of, I always say stay woke. more people are getting educated about what's going on. More people are seeing what's happening. More people are starting to understand that the system is not broken. It's working the way it's supposed to work. You're starting to see the kids with this pandemic. It wasn't just the pandemic that caused the kids to be behind. Yeah, they was behind before that. They're coming in behind. So if you see all these things going on and you keep on saying we're here to help the kids, we're here for the kids, show me that you're here for the kids. Show me that you're trying to help the kids. Show me that you're trying to do something. What have you done today to help a child?
Wow. Yeah. And yeah, so and we got work to do. And I think as we walk into, I see Miss Saul Miller. She says the problem is the third quarter is almost over, which is over March 12th. Then testing is amongst us, and many of them are not ready. And that's what we know, and that's what we've been hearing from the get.
I got something to say about testing. We know they're not going to be ready.
Yeah.
And what I want parents to understand is you need these assessments and you need these tests. So I want to calm you a little bit. Calm you just a little bit. They need to know where they are. They need to know if they're behind. They need to know if they're not ready. You know, people go to the hospital for ailments, and what do? They assess them. They take in the objective and subjective information, what they see and what the patient tells them. And then they run diagnostic tests to find out what could be causing the symptoms. And then there is a diagnosis made and then a plan put into place. So you want your children to be assessed. You want them to be tested. And it's not an indictment on them.
Yeah.
Know that.
This is as far as the testing. This is the time that you want your child to, do their best. But it's okay for them not to know something. It's best for them not to know it because they don't know it. They need to know that they don't know it. I talked to a parent last night at soccer practice. We were talking about MAP tests. I was talking about the speaker series next month. And she said, I didn't know we were supposed to get the MAP test. I said, yeah, you're supposed to get it. You're supposed to get a copy of it. She had no idea that she was supposed to get a MAP test. She got 2 kids with IEPs. And she had no idea that she's supposed to even know what the MAP test says. So, we should take us over to the next speaker series about the MAP test. And that was good the last time, and it's good that more parents need to get involved and know about that. When you're talking about these tests, you need to know what these tests are saying, what these tests mean, what these tests are going to do for your child.
Yeah, and so transitioning, I mean, some of the things that have come up in the past, 7 days, we had our speaker series. The speaker series was exciting. Kanisha, you were on there. You brought good questions. Victoria, Thomas, Ms. Walker. I mean, the list continues. Stephanie Carty, and I think it was an opportunity to show, like, when parents are invited to the table, parents are going to show up and they're going to talk about the real issues, but not just talk about it, like have feedback coming from a parent's perspective on things that we need to do. And so, Kanisha, if you could just talk about just how was your experience on the speaker series and what are some of the things you want to see next?
Well, I definitely want to see a plan. And I think it's important that it's plain, it's easy to read, that it's accessible, and that it has phases. And it really shows us what's going to happen for our children. It's nice to hear ideologically what you want and what you intend to do, but to take the time and sit down and write a plan about how we're going to make this happen is important. Because it's a roadmap. We need a roadmap to see what's going to happen. It doesn't mean that we might have to follow it the whole way. We might have to deviate at times, but we need to see how we're phasing this in. And I think that's important. And that's about accountability too. We have a plan. If there is a roadmap, you're accountable to that. And, I don't want that to get lost in this whole part. Just like we want accountability for the money, we want accountability for this plan. Put it in writing. That was one of my biggest issues. And the other issue that I wanted to bring up, I saw the meeting last night when they were talking about teacher retention, but and you know, and then I listened to you know, what my son was saying about being in school, and those things have to come hand in hand. If we don't have teachers to teach this information, then we're not going to be successful. We cannot let the two, you know, separate, because you know, they're an important part of this conversation. And so, you know, I mean, it definitely, for me, we have a mountain to climb, but we need a plan to climb that mountain.
Yep, yep. And I'll go back to Miss Crump. Miss Crump was on there live. In effect, she asked, so once they've been tested and see where the kids' levels are, what is the school going to do to get the children at the learning level they should be at? And this is a big point. We appreciated Dr. Battle, and I think the person she highlighted that was working on it was, I think, Dr. Paul Changus. But this is why we believe you need the real parent support and input to be at the table, because this is how you get to where you need to be. It's not just about creating the personalized learning plan, but it's really, what's the plan afterwards? Like I gave you a map, but what is the plan, and like, how do we make sure kids are being successful even after this?
Mm-hmm.
That was an interesting conversation. We'll play a little bit of a snippet before we leave, but that's why we do the work. It's not just about having the conversation. It's really about taking the input of so many parents. I mean, Victoria had good questions. I think Thomas Driver had good questions. And so you really just seen parents, again, take their seat at the table, but not just sit there and look. They were very active. And that's why we have Nashville PROPEL.
Amen.
I'm gonna just go through and read some. We got Crystal Little Lewis. I remember she was on there. She said, totally agree. We got Miss Nikisha Saul Miller talking about it takes patience. I'm gonna be on a large scale. And so we got Kimberly White, this chiming in morning. And so this is what this movement is about, like building collective power. In about 5 minutes, we want to talk about something super big, something that we're super excited, something that we lose sleep over. I lose sleep over, not in a negative sense, but so positive. So we're going to talk about that in 5 minutes, but just want to hear from just parents, like what are some of the important things as we get ready, as Nikisha Saul Miller said, for testing after the third quarter on March 12th? Like, what are things that are just important that you want your students to leave with by May as they walk into the new school year in August?
No, you wait. Somebody. I mean, we can let's hit on teachers a little bit.
Okay.
So we need great educators, and great educators need us in order to change the trajectory of our education system. My concern is that maybe a lot of the teachers don't feel that they're being heard, just like we haven't been heard. And I think it's important that, you know, that the district listens to them. But also, I think it's important for the teachers who may have feedback to make sure that they're bringing some solutions to the table. They are right in the classroom with the students. And so I think it's important that they also offer some solutions. And for instance, if they don't want to return back to the classroom, what's going to make virtual learning better? If you want to remain a virtual learning teacher, then what's going to make it better? Are you willing to go and take some more CEUs to you know, improve and invest in yourself so that the whole virtual situation is better? I think that, you know, we've got to listen to them, but also I think we have to ask our educators to bring some solutions to the table, and then we have to make sure that they're listened to. With our children's cabinet to address learning loss, we had some education experts and some educators on that cabinet who brought some very good information, some very good feedback. And it puts me in mind of, it makes me think, are they even listened to? Like, you've got this jewel and a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge and a lot of feedback and things that they can bring to the table to make our system better, are they even listened to?
Yeah.
That's good right there. What you just said, Sonia. This is the new norm. It's gonna be virtual learning for years to come. So if it's gonna be virtual learning, you gotta make sure it's the best virtual learning money can buy. You're gonna be a virtual learning teacher, be the best virtual learning teacher there is. If you're gonna be in person, be the best there is. It's gonna be two different things. It's gonna be an in person, it's gonna be an out person. So we need to look into doing that, listen to the teachers and see which one they want to do. First thing they'll feel more comfortable if they want to be in person or be at home, whatever they want to do, they feel more comfortable doing it. A person that want to be at home and then they got back to person, they're not going to be as great because they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. So I'm just going to be like, I want to be in person, and then you're going to make them stay at home, but they want to be hands-on. So we need to really talk to them and figure it out which way they want to be. Ms. Burke was talking about earlier about the teachers trying to do both. And we've seen the example. I've given an example. A teacher can't do both. There's no way possible you can do both. So that's a good point that Sonia just made. We need to listen to this once again. Listen to the parents, the teachers, and the children.
Can I let y'all know something? First of all, virtual learning is not new. I have seen where MNPS has praised their virtual learning program. See, virtual learning is not new. It's new on this scale, but I've seen where, they kind of, champion themselves and having the best virtual learning program before the pandemic in the state of Tennessee. So virtual learning is, I want to make sure people know that. It's not new, baby.
Right.
Let's build the knowledge base here. It ain't new. Ain't nothing new, son.
You're right.
Let me chime in on that, on the fact that we have a Tennessee virtual school. Metro did have a virtual school before this, and which is still separate from how they're teaching the children right now, which I find completely absurd. And we have a higher education system in the state of Tennessee that does virtual learning and does it on a large scale. So when we talk about community and we talk about stakeholders, the fact that we're not using the teaching and learning centers at every single one of these state colleges to educate these teachers on how to teach virtually is a disservice. I
want to interrupt you. I got to drop some knowledge on y'all. Now, the state, they offered virtual learning training at Trevecca, Nazarene. I ain't the one to gossip. They offered virtual learning training last spring. There was a grant with millions of dollars. Wow. And so there was opportunity to sign up. But I ain't the one to gossip. But y'all go look on the state website and find it.
And see, and that's an example of how we're wasting money right here. Because college professor, teaching and learning centers, there is so much help and information. I can't even get a course to be published before it gets reviewed. You see what I'm saying? And so, to have this information available and that's not to use our resources, it just seems like a waste to me. I had a conversation, John, I had to connect you with a parent yesterday, but I also had a conversation with a teacher yesterday in which she just expressed the frustration in the fact that they're not being heard. She wants to go back in person. They do, but they're not being heard. Nobody is listening to what they're saying. Nobody is hearing what they're talking about, the deficits with the students, and their recommendations for how to solve those problems are not being listened to. So I completely agree with Sonia when we say if we're not listening to the people who are doing the job and who are on the ground, how do we expect to get to a really good solution? Because these people who really care have great solutions. We have to incorporate those. I mean, it's like we should be fighting together, but it's almost like there's tension there, and when there shouldn't be.
What did Dr. King say about the unheard voice? What did he say about it? What is a riot? We got a real live riot.
What you just said, listen to the people that's doing it, don't recreate the wheel. This past week, I had my great niece who she's doing a virtual learning school. She goes to Robson County, but she's doing it's actual virtual learning. This is what they do, nothing but that. And that was so different because these people do it. They're not trying to make it up as they go. She had classes, and her classes was just different times. It was times where her mom was available. Um, she might have class at 9 o'clock in the morning. She might have class at 7 o'clock at night. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't know when the baby was supposed to be in class. She was like, okay, we were snowed in, so she's like, can you help her with the school? Okay, what's her class schedule? And the schedule was made around what I had to do. And I'm like, for real? You know, they actually made the schedule. You've already heard we're gonna work it out where the kids can have the schedule where the parents be home, record the classes. They send them books. They had the teacher on there. The teacher was showing them everything they need to do. They had support. They had different numbers for different stuff. It was so totally different. Now I said I can do that homeschooling, but the one that I was started out doing, I told my wife, forget that. I work 4 jobs. You do the homeschooling. I don't want to even be around.
It's real out here. It's real. And one thing that I want to highlight in 2 minutes is just really like a quick snippet of just that conversation that we had, because I want parents who didn't get a chance to check out the speaker series just really to get a little taste of what our parents had an opportunity to participate in on Monday evening. So let me try to pull that up. Let's see, share screen, application window. All right, wish me luck. All right, can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Knew I wanted to do at a very young age, and just simply because I was seeing how my teachers poured into me and they really did care about me as an individual. The surface conversation and being deeply rooted, looking at the deep rooted causes of inequities that we might see across our system, not just in all be empowered with that information to make sure that we are meeting and exceeding our goals at every turn.
The educational journey. Once again, the goal is to empower our students and families, and we look forward to having this dialogue as we go forward.
Practices come alive, and we just invite you and we welcome you to participate in these opportunities.
And our families to be even more authentically engaged in the learning and the progress of their students. And so in thinking about the personalized student dashboard and thinking about the literacy reimagined and thinking about, all those signature initiatives, there is some level of parent training or engagement that we're planning around because, and I'm just going to go back to the literacy space. There is still so much that students can be doing at home and in the community, but it's our responsibility to equip parents with, training and ways, easy ways, right, to reinforce what students may be learning in school. So
soon to talk about our wish list and then put a timeline with that. But we want you to have the information that parents need to help in the decision process.
And it sounds like we have a lot of questions around children with IEP. So I think maybe it's something that we probably need to really discuss and see how we can propel that conversation forward a little faster
in that space. And we'll lean on Dr. Griffin and Mr. Thomas to continue to elevate those initiatives and opportunities for partnership across all schools. How well and how fast our students can continue to grow and achieve.
Thank you.
All righty, we'll cut that and come back. And so just thoughts as we just, did a quick drive through those conversations. You guys saw some of the comments. They were very active. You heard the engagement from Paul Changus and Dr. Battle. And so just thoughts from that, just reflections from the speaker series.
For me, next steps are very important. We've been talking about a plan, but as everybody has reiterated here on this platform, a plan is just a plan, an idea, or a dream without a date. And so we need a clear timeline, and we want to make sure that parents are looked at as decision-making partners Yes, every student needs to be known and every parent needs to be known, but we do need to make every decision together.
Amen. Torvis, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, I was talking about planning to plan, the foreplan. Okay, the planning process is over with. Now it's time to be some actions. We need some steps. We need to see some things moving forward. We need to see the actual. Only thing I want to know about the plan is what is the plan? Show me the plan on paper. Okay, now we're going to implement this plan. What are the first steps? What's phase one? What's day one? What's day two? What's day three? If I'm planning to build a house, I got to build a foundation. They're gonna start on the foundation this day. Then this day they're gonna put the plumbing in. So we need to start putting something together for this plan. Let's start seeing some movement in this plan.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Lawson, and thank you for chiming in. She says, I am so concerned with these kids' mental and emotional health. So many factors, in fact, impacting their ability to learn and retain information. And Dr. Lawson, that is why we're asking for a plan. You are so right. We have to look at the whole child. We have to look at them holistically. And so it's very important that we put these plans around our children. We look at these children as life's vision. If you don't write the vision, the people, they perish. And that's what has happened for decades with our children. They have perished. Either they've lost their life or their livelihood and their ability to be successful. I was just talking to my teenager this week about how, her path forward. It's going to be important that she has a plan. One of the things she's been irritated with me about is because I have her to keep a planner, to write her goals and her priorities and her progress towards those goals. So she was talking to me about, wanting to learn how to budget and all these things. She's got so many things she's got to learn to do and so many things that she needs to do, as well as academics and athletics. And so what I was able to do is to show her that, first of all, you've got to set some goals and you've got to prioritize and you got to write the plan. That's why mama got you that planner. That's why mama emphasizes, well, did you look at your planner today? So you can make sure that you get everything done to make progress towards your goals. It also helps with your mental health. It calms down anxiety. It helps with being depressed because sometimes we don't even see our progress and we feel defeated. So it's important that we have these plans. Children need to see where they're making progress as well as where they're not. And they need an opportunity to have this key, I think, component to life, to be able to manage and to have a good life, is to be able to set goals and prioritize. That should be a life skill taught from kindergarten. And that is another reason why. We're pressing for this. Our children, not only are they not being educated, they're sent out into the world not being able to manage a banking account, not even being able to manage their household. Then their families break up. So goal setting, planning, and prioritizing and monitoring your progress is a life skill, crucial life skill that should be started from day one at kindergarten, period.
And you should be adding.
I don't know what the hell we've been doing.
You should be adding things as far as learning. You should be adding things like we're talking about vocational schools and things like that. You should be adding stuff versus taking away. Taking away cursive writing. They can't sign a check. I'm hearing they take away analog clocks because they can't tell time. You're gonna keep taking stuff away. No, you need to be adding stuff to the learning.
Who comes up with that stuff? Can y'all please get their phone number and email address? I have questions. Who wakes up in the morning and comes up with this crazy stuff? I want to know who you are. If you can hear us, identify yourself. Who comes up with this stuff? I'm sorry, y'all. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I think it is important. Like Sonia, I have a teenager, and we have been going, additional reading, goal setting, more book, and actually had a teacher contact me last semester because my son was able to provide additional information that she couldn't provide. And that was based off of his extracurricular reading that I had him do. And it's this idea that the only thing they're learning is what they're getting in the classroom sometimes that they are having in this education system, because we have to fill in the gaps. And I'm filling in the gaps for my children, but also the idea of the practicality of life skills being taken out of school is kind of crazy. Like Torvis said, we used to have home ec, we used to have shop. You know what I'm saying? We had all of these things that taught us how to live to exist outside in the world, and those things have been removed. I had to buy my son in middle school a book on how to write cursive so that he can eventually have a signature. And so as we start removing stuff, we're taking away life skills from these children, and that's important. And on top of that, the vision is definitely important. My son's IEP meeting is on Tuesday. I've already started writing it. You hear that? I started writing it because they're going to write their portion of what they want to happen. I'm going to write what I want to happen, and we're going to come to an agreement on what's going to work for him. And I have a vision for what I want my child to have in his education. And when we start doing these individualized learning plans, I'm going to come to the table with a vision. And I think every parent needs to come to the table with a vision for their child. And I feel like that needs to be at the top of the plan. What's the vision? And that's why it's important as parents that we are part of this conversation. We're part of building this plan so that they can understand what we need and what we want for our children, but not just what we need, but what our children have told us and expressed that they need and how they feel, because their voices need to be heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Goal setting 101.
Yeah.
Vision class. You got to have a vision class. We have to tell the story, show you how to write a vision.
What do you want to be true for your child? What do you want to be true? And as we start to end the show today, think about that. What do you want to be true for your child? At the end, even at the end of this school year, as it's starting to wrap up, what do you want to be true? And then what do you want to be true when they enter school in the fall, and then at the end of the school year next year? Like,
what do you want to be true?
What you want to be true, and that is, that's the $1 million question, and that's what parents have got to ask, and ask your children. What do you want to be true? What do you want to be true when you graduate? Like, what do you dream? What's your vision for yourself? What do you want to be doing? All of those things. It's okay to ask kids that, and they'll tell you. Little Trinity, Miss Crump's daughter, sat in my dining room as my daughter tutored her. And she said, I want to be a teacher. And I think we should be cultivating that, especially in a time where we're losing teachers. Why isn't anybody investing in her dream to be a teacher? It's not enough to give her a worksheet, right? It's also, we need to be investing in her leadership. Even at an early age, she knows what she wants to do. I always knew I wanted to be a nurse. And I always knew that I wanted to serve people. So how are we investing in our children? Are we just looking at their occupation? Or are we looking at their purpose? We need to be evaluating both, because there's a difference.
Wow.
That's something too, because we was growing up, we always had a vision. We always wanted to be somebody or be something. I remember I had about 10 visions. Every time I wanted to be Chips. You get a bicycle ride in the street, want to be Chips. I wanted to be the football player. I had a picture on Facebook the other day. My uncle played for TSU, played with Richard Denton and all them guys. And I went to my first TSU game. I wanted to be a football player, and I wanted to be the halftime show too. I had a picture with the football uniform on and in front of a drum. I wanted to be both. You know what I'm saying? We had visions of what we wanted to be growing up. Shit, I wanted to be both of them. I wanted to be the catch a football pass, and I wanted to be the drum major. I wanted to be both. You know?
I'm sorry, Torvis. That's wonderful. I shouldn't laugh at you. I should not laugh, but that was funny. I just imagine you behind that drum with that football helmet on.
Afro.
But you know, it's so true because I truly remember my whole elementary experience. One of the things I was always asked is, what do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? You could be anything. I remember in the 6th grade in English class and me telling my teacher that I wanted to be, be in communications, and that teacher sat and let me take the state test and test out of English all the way to high school when I was in the 6th grade. We can't get our kids to get tested out anything right now, you know? And so that when I got to middle school, I was able to start taking foreign languages. And by the time I got to high school, I was able to start taking some extra college courses. You know, it's about asking these kids what they want. Because when when my son told me what he wanted to do, I was like, wow, this child is way smarter than me. You know, but you don't know that until you ask them and they tell you. And every time they tell you, it's something different. And these kids are so unique. They have so many skills that we didn't have at that age. That it's astounding.
Yes.
You know, if we let them have a voice, they're going to show us something.
Yeah, they will. They'll show us everything. They'll tell us everything that we need to know. They're such interesting beings, such powerful beings.
Well, I'll tell you guys one thing as a child, what I wanted to do, because I watched it every day. It was mostly videos, but they started to do reality shows. They started to do documentaries. And I always said I really wanted to be on BET because I just thought it was an opportunity. Like, that's our community. It was a television station created for us, by us. It was eventually bought by Viacom, but hey, it's still BET. But this Sunday at 8:00, we have an opportunity to represent for the revolution. It's the last day of Black History Month. It's Church Sunday, and I think it'll give us an opportunity to get a story out that Kanisha, Sonia, Torvis, and myself, we have all been working on, along with the many parents. And I'll pull it up right here. But it's the Disrupt and Dismantle. That's going to be on BET this upcoming Sunday. It's hosted by Soledad O'Brien. We're going to be tuning in. We're likely going to be live streaming it because we want to, really, one, represent for the culture, but two, the most important thing is continue to build the movement. Like, this is an opportunity to get a message, to get a movement out, and we want to grow the movement. And so we want to ask all of you guys, share it out. We got it on our Facebook page. We'll be texting it out. We want every household to be tuned in to cheer us on, but also give us suggestions on how we can grow the movement. But Sonia, any thoughts? I know you worked really hard day in and day out to make sure we made it to the cut to really highlight the work that we're doing. But any feedback from you?
No, I think one of the things that I want to say is that this documentary or docu-series, it talks about the problem, but also it highlights those in this city who are fighting for solutions. So not only will we be featured, but there are other families and leaders and organizations who will be a part of this great project, and just want to shout them out too and make sure that we acknowledge the fact that it takes all of us together, each and every last one of us, to do the work that we're doing, and we all play an important part. So want to make sure that we acknowledge that. Make sure you guys watch. We're thankful for Soledad O'Brien Productions for looking at the work that we're doing and seeing how powerful our parents are, and how we are propelling to change. So tune in Sunday, and we will recap next Wednesday, and talk about it.
All righty. Well, thank you guys. It's been a great show. We're gonna keep this movement continues and check us out for our cohort now. We got our class this Thursday, and then we'll have graduation next week. Thank you guys. Let's finish strong. And then for our parents of the movement who have been involved, who have helped us not only get a seat at the table, but sit at the head of the table and lead the conversation. So thank you guys.
You know what, John and Sonia? You just let us know that the revolution is about to be televised.
Come on, now, the revolution is about to be televised.
That just let us know the revolution about to be televised. I just wanted to put that out there for you.
Come on now. Come on.
And I want to say it loud for the people in the back. It's just getting started.
Come on now. It's just getting started. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Crystal, Ms. Lewis, I see you on the speaker series. We'll have one of our organizers reach out to you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.